Alright, so today I'm going to be doing some much needed upgrades on the Savage XS. Finally got this guy back from HPI. They sent me in a set of the aluminum shocks for my treble. The ESC was burnt from the box. Alright, so on to the build. So we're going to be installing a high-tech 645 metal gator servo. Gives us about 130 ounces at 6 volts. Here are the HPI aluminum shocks. These are the same as on the Blitz, which is their short course truck. So I'll pop out the servo. And this guy unfortunately is not waterproof, so we're going to be doing some work to get that waterproofed. Alright, so I'm going to get the servo horn off. And we're going to be using the liquid tape. Butter the whole servo up. Make sure to go up the leads a little bit. In and around. Alright, so now it's dry. Get ready to do our install here. So if you pull out the battery, you have a little bit more access to the servo horn. So I'm going to get that loosened up. Give us some room to work with. And I should have done that first, but we're going to get the tires off. And now we're going to get the cover for the servo and the motor out. Servo itself has 4 screws, 2 on each side. And get those removed, which is going to give us more access to getting inside there. Alright, with the servo out, just pull, and there's a little pivot ball that should pop off the arm. Alright. So once that's there, you can remove that, and you have to be installing the new servo horn that's included in the kit. This one's going to be a 24 spline for the high-tech 645 servo. Now we're going to get the receiver box out, because that again needs to come out so we can fish all those leads through this entire build. I guarantee you that the hardest part is getting that all set up again. Not a big fan of their sealed box. It's really hard to get wires in and out of it. Alright, so we finally do get it out after some struggling. Now we're going to go ahead, fish the lead from the high-tech servo through the chassis and back into the receiver box. Alright, so we're going to reassemble, put the rubber gasket in, get our 3 hex screws in, make sure we're nice and snug so no water gets through. Alright, so now all you're going to need is reinstall that servo horn. Make sure everything's lined up before we start mashing it in, because you don't have much access once that servo's in. And all we have to do now is snap that pivot ball back onto the arm. Or should I say the arm back into the pivot ball. 4 screws back on our servo. Everything's nice and snug. Reassemble the receiver box. You have 2 screws on both sides. Secure that to the chassis. Same on the other side. And we're ready to reassemble the motor and servo cover. Alright, so that's done. We're just clean up our wiring. Pretty much ready to move over to our shocks. Alright, so it's going to be the same as you do for most of your shocks. There's nothing really different in this. Start getting all our pieces ready. Break everything off the trees. That shock oil was open. So now we're going to grease up some rubber O-rings. Push that through the bottom of the shaft. And there's a spacer in another O-ring. And we have the end cap that's going to close it off. Alright, so now you got a washer. We have, I guess, the plunger that's going to go on top of that. Another washer and the nut to hold everything together. Thread that through the shock. Fill it up with oil. Make sure you get all the air bubbles off. Now you're pretty much ready to assemble the shock cap with the diaphragm within it. Alright, so got some good dampening on there. I'm going to thread those arms on the rod. Push the shock through and we're ready to go. Pretty much all. It's the same for all 4, so I figured it's pointless to show you guys that. Let's start disassembling. You have 1 screw up top with a nut and back, and at the bottom it's just going to be another screw going into the the control arm, not control arm, sorry, the A arm. So we're just going to reverse everything we did to take it off to install the new shocks. Get the screw and the nut behind the shock towers. And we do the same for all the other three. Alright, so we're completed. Got the upgraded aluminum shocks. Looking nice. Seem to be a little bit softer than the stock, which I found was pretty stiff. Alright, and tons of steering. Alright, and still lots of steering here. Alright, so we'll be showing you some running footage soon. Thanks for watching. Please thumbs up, subscribe.